In the name of Allah, all praise is due to Allah, and peace and blessings be upon the Messenger of Allah, his family, companions, and all who follow him. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, alone with no partner, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. O Allah, send prayers upon Muhammad, the Prophet, and upon his wives, the mothers of the believers, his offspring, and his household, just as you sent prayers upon the family of Ibrahim. Indeed, you are praiseworthy, glorious. As for what follows, the truth is, today was supposed to be the 5th lesson in the series reflecting on Surah Al-Hujurat. And it was so until I finished the Friday prayer, and my heart opened to speak on another topic. I prayed istikhara and consulted some people whose opinions I trust, and they also encouraged me to speak on this topic. So let us talk about a different subject today, Insha'Allah, and we will continue with the Hujurat series next time, unless something exceptional comes up that requires another special lesson. Surah Luqman, it was named after that righteous and wise man Luqman. His name is not mentioned anywhere else in the Quran, except in this surah. In Surah Luqman, when he is mentioned in only one context, described with one attribute by Allah, and one episode from his life is narrated. Just that. That is the extent of Luqman's mention in the Quran. The attribute he is described with is wisdom, and we gave Luqman wisdom. And the event from his life that Allah narrated is an extraordinary scene, not of a preacher delivering a sermon in a mosque, nor a prophet calling disbelievers to Islam in a grand epic tale. So why was the whole surah named after him? It is as if Allah is telling us to pay attention to this specific moment. What was the moment? It was the moment of a father speaking to his son, and mention when Luqman said to his son while he was advising him, "O my son, do not associate anything with Allah. Indeed, association with him is great injustice." We will delve into these verses, insha'Allah. But the scene in summary, a father while admonishing his son. That is it. Even more amazing is how the surah ends. It begins with the father-son relationship in this world, and it ends with the parent-child relationship in the hereafter. O mankind, fear your Lord, and fear a day when no father will avail his son, nor will a son avail his father at all. So your chance with your child is now, in this world, because in the hereafter, no parent will benefit their child. This parent-child scene is repeated many times in the Quran, and all of these scenes show us that guidance, advice, psychological upbringing, all of these are the father's responsibility. That might come as a surprise today, because in most homes, the father thinks his job is just to work and bring money, and after that, no one should ask him for anything. Everything else is dumped on the mother. That is wrong. The father has a responsibility. Each of you is a shepherd, and each of you is responsible for his flock. The man is a shepherd in his home and is responsible for his household. You are responsible, meaning you will be questioned on the day of judgment about your family. What did you do with them? If we examine the stories in the Quran between fathers and sons, we find all of them revolve around this theme. The father advising, guiding, preparing the child psychologically for great matters, and extracting obedience from the son. Let's go through these quickly. First, Luqman's story, and mention when Luqman said to his son while he was advising him, "O my son," full of wisdom and guidance. Second, the story of Yaqub, Jacob, with his son Yusuf, Joseph, when Joseph said to his father, "O my father, indeed I have seen in a dream 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them prostrating to me." He said, "O my son, do not relate your vision to your brothers, lest they conspire against you." Let's pause here. We have reflected on Surah Yusuf in this mosque before, I believe across 5 or 6 sessions. But quickly, I want to highlight something important. Yaqub was the prophet of the time. That means he had all the responsibilities of a prophet. He had to provide for his household like any man, manage family problems, and he had many sons, not 1 or 2, but 11 or 12. Every son had his own needs and issues, and on top of that, he had his duty as a prophet, guiding believers, educating them, addressing their psychological and worldly challenges, and dealing with disbelievers who may have been plotting against him. He also had the right of Allah upon him: worship, prayer, devotion. Now his son Yusuf, 7 years old, comes to him with a dream. If that was your son, what would you do? How many responsibilities do you actually have that are stopping you from giving time to your child? Let's be honest. We spend plenty of time on Facebook, scrolling reels, shorts, TikToks, and when your child comes to talk, you're distracted. For older folks, maybe it's TV talk shows or coffee shop gatherings. Where is your child in all this? Yusuf says, "I want to tell you a dream." Yaqub doesn't just listen, he focuses. He gives his full attention. He isn't thinking of his prophethood, or the disbelievers, or the believers. He's focused on the boy. This is what being a man means. It's your share in life that you're a man. That means you struggle all day, but still don't forget the responsibilities Allah placed on you. So Yaqub alayhi salam gives Yusuf his full attention, listens to the dream, and begins to guide him, explaining the meaning, giving him advice, because he understood the interpretation of visions. That's a real man, a father focused on his son. And why is he so attentive? Because your child might be trying to tell you something, but he's afraid to say it, or embarrassed, or feels threatened. If you're scrolling on Facebook while your child is trying to talk to you, he's gone. You've lost him, and you'll realize it maybe a year later, when he's too deep in trouble and can't speak up anymore. He might have looked you in the eyes before, but you didn't look back. You were busy. Busy with what? "I'm working," you say. And the mother? She's in the kitchen, chatting on the phone with a neighbor. The child comes to speak. No one listens. The trust is broken. But if you sit with your child, focus, and give them your full attention, you'll see it in their eyes. You'll catch signs. The shaking hand, the fearful posture. Something is off. You start pulling the thread. Now, this may sound like a luxury to some. I sit with my kid and focus. When? Leave the device in your hand. Because in 1 or 2 years, when you discover your child has been sinking into something terrible, and you could have caught it early, it will be too late. Drugs, for example. Kids don't wake up one day and suddenly become addicts. It starts slowly, with signs, small changes. If you catch it early, by Allah's permission, you can save them. But we're not paying attention. Why? We're too busy. Let's be honest, you're not that busy. You scroll a lot, you hang out a lot, you're online a lot. Yet you don't have time to sit and talk to your child? So many young people are falling into addiction, into zina, fornication, into doubt, into atheism. And the parents? Not attentive. Of course, everyone has responsibilities, but having responsibilities doesn't excuse you from your responsibility. You're accountable. You can't be negligent and then a year later say, "I don't know what happened to my son." Where were you? Where? Your 12 or 15-year-old who doesn't come to talk to you. He probably did years ago when he was 5, but he found no one. Or he found a body without a mind, a heart, or guidance. He found a distracted parent. Yaqub alayhi salam left everything to sit and listen to his 7-year-old son. Not just to listen, he responded with guidance, wisdom, and spiritual nurturing. "Do not relate your vision to your brothers," he continued, advising and interpreting. And Yaqub stayed focused on his sons until when? Until he was dying. Or were you witnesses when death approached Yaqub, when he said to his sons, "What will you worship after me?" He was on his deathbed, and he was still focused on his sons, who by then were grown men. Let's reflect. When we talk about fathers focusing on their children's upbringing, what exactly are they focused on? Let's come back to these verses shortly. But for now, that was the story of Yaqub alayhi salam. Now the third example. Ibrahim, alayhis salam, with his son, the one he was commanded to sacrifice. A remarkable story. We don't see the father as a commander or disciplinarian only. That's important, yes. But what we see is a father who teaches, nurtures, advises. Ibrahim says, "O my son, indeed I have seen in a dream that I must sacrifice you, so see what you think." Let's pause. Ibrahim could have just said, "Come here, lie down, I need to slaughter you." But no, he said, "So see what you think." He is raising a man, not just a child to obey orders, but a son who can make decisions, understand, and accept the decree of Allah. So see what you think. And as we mentioned in earlier lessons, there are two possible readings here. See what you think, meaning, what is your opinion? Or, see what you show to Allah, meaning, how will you respond to this divine command? Both readings point to deep spiritual education. This is not how many youth are raised today. Some boys at 17 or 20 still can't make a decision for themselves, not even which shoes to buy. They were never raised to be decisive. Ibrahim, alayhis salam, received a direct command from Allah, and still he consulted his son. That's how you raise a man. The fourth example, Nuh, alayhis salam, with his son. "O my son, board with us and do not be with the disbelievers." Again, a father advising his son at the final moment of life. The father didn't give up on his child. Men, listen, and young men preparing for marriage, this is your responsibility. Meaning, on the day of judgment, you will be asked, how did you raise this child? Don't fall into the easy trap of dumping everything on the woman. We'll come to her role shortly. But let's be clear, you are not just an ATM. You don't just bring the money and check out. Because in her natural disposition, a woman is not suited to carry this entire role alone. Yes, there are exceptions, women who raised great men. But generally speaking, women are emotionally driven, and when emotion overtakes reason in parenting, it leads to more harm than good. The only story I recall in the Quran of a mother with her child, where her emotion almost led to his death, is the mother of Musa, Moses. Pharaoh was slaughtering all the male infants. Allah inspired her to cast her son into the river, and she obeyed. But once she knew he had reached Pharaoh's palace, she almost exposed everything, and the heart of the mother of Musa became empty of everything else. She was about to disclose him had we not strengthened her heart. She would have told them, "That's my son, give him back," which would have led to his death. This is not a criticism, it's the complementarity of roles. Men and women complete each other. A mother is deeply emotional. That emotion is beautiful and necessary in many cases. But sometimes, in moments requiring firmness, it can lead to the wrong decision. Another point, men generally notice subtle signs more than women. Why? Because many women, especially pious and sheltered women, have never encountered certain dangers. They didn't live that life. So when a man sees something in a child, he might catch it quickly. A woman may not even imagine that such a thing could exist. That's why it's the father's role to sit, to listen. Now, does that mean the woman is excluded from everything? Of course not. She has her role. But the father's role in advising, directing, and nurturing spiritually is essential. I ask you, fathers and young men planning for marriage, when was the last time you sat with your child to talk about Allah? Let's be honest. If I handed you the mic right now and said, "Speak to us about Allah for 3 or 4 minutes," could you? To convey a message, you must first prepare yourself. You must grow spiritually. You must live with these values. Otherwise, we raise an empty generation. So, if you, father, or young man preparing for marriage, haven't prepared yourself to speak about Allah, how are you going to teach your child about Him? This is the role of the father. He is responsible for this role, no debate about it. And if you neglect this responsibility, let's just reflect on one aspect of it so we don't prolong this too much. When you sit with your son, you must pay attention to the small details we mentioned earlier. It's not enough to just advise and guide generally. We need to focus on one thing, especially in our current times. Your child needs your focus. Why does he need it? Because he might be in a deep problem and not know how to speak about it, or not want to. Why not? That's not the issue right now. What matters is, you are the one who closed the door between him and you. You made him afraid of you. You made it clear that you have no solutions. You showed no interest. You're listening to him while scrolling on your phone. Eventually, he stops talking. How will you know your child has a problem, your son or daughter? By focusing on the small signs. How do you catch those? By being fully present. Your child comes to talk. Drop whatever is in your hand and give him your full attention. If he talks for 5 minutes, it's a blessing. You've got nothing more important than raising your child with values and meanings. With each day, his mind grows. But you're also making sure it grows in the right direction. In the past, our fathers feared for us the moment we left the house. Where did he go? Why is he late? Today, the wise father is the one who fears for his son inside the house, sitting right in front of him with a device in his hand. The child is right there. But what is he doing? Who is he talking to? What's going into his mind right now? Desires? Doubts? Atheism? You don't know. He's in front of you, but mentally, he's far, far away. This needs much more focus than before. You must pay attention to your child's behavior, his speech, his actions. If not, the children will be lost. They will be lost. And when they're lost, you are responsible. In our jurisprudence, there's a ruling. Command your children to pray at the age of 7. If you don't command them, you are sinful. Is the child sinful if he doesn't pray? No. The child is not legally accountable yet. He's not sinful. But you are if you don't teach him to pray at that age. Because it's a command, and a command implies obligation, as many jurists say. So the negligent father, who never tells his 7 or 8-year-old son to pray, is sinful. These ordinary practices, signs of responsibility, and you should put an obligation to them. If your son misses Fajr until after sunrise, he is sinning. It's haram. And you are responsible for raising him in a way that he values that prayer. If, for example, sunrise is at 6:11 a.m., and your son has an exam that day, you'll wake him at 6:15 for the test. But you won't wake him for Fajr at 6 o'clock? The world has turned upside down. This is a separate problem. Now, we've reviewed stories from the Quran. Fathers focused on advising, guiding, spiritually raising their sons, connecting them to Allah. They spoke about religion. Now, I ask, what's the percentage of your conversations with your child that are about religion? Not only do we fail to talk to them about religion, look at the environments we place our children in. Let's start from the beginning, choosing a life partner. For a young man getting married, what kind of environment will you create for your children? Because the environment is you and your wife. The home, what will it be like? Will you marry a woman who is mindful of Allah? And the same applies to the woman. Choose a man who will be a good father. That's the first decision in raising your child. Choosing the right spouse. And then, the school. Which school will you put your child in? Some parents put their children in nun-run schools, and the child's faith begins to crumble. Yes, I've seen it with my own eyes. I've had youth in my classes for 18 years, some from these missionary schools. A young boy once came to me crying, sobbing. Why? He had become religious and was happy about his faith, but he was punished if caught reading Quran. He was punished for praying in a corner of the playground because there was no mosque. They had to pray secretly under the stairs. Crosses in every classroom. Christian prayers at the start of the day. Why did you put your child in such a school? Because they teach good manners, you say. What about the religion of your child? You are responsible for that. Some narrations from the Israelite traditions say that when Yaqub alayhis salam went blind from grief over Yusuf, his sons said, "We wonder, was he a believer or not?" Look at Yaqub's mindset. He was concerned whether his son was still a believer. When your son comes back from an exam, your first question should be, "Did you pray dhuhr?" Not, "How did you do on the test, champ?" Religion, people, that's the concern. Do you imagine on the day of judgment that Allah will ask you, did you enroll your son in a public school or a private school? Did he go to an international university or a government one? These are not the questions of the afterlife. The real question is, what was the state of your child's religion? And what did you do about it? We, ourselves, put our children into schools with no sense of religion. And here's where the distortion in understanding religion shows. Some parents say, religion? That's for the house, not the school. So religion becomes folklore, just traditions. Like, oh, he used to pray Fajr. What a good habit he inherited from his father. That's it? This is not religion. That's superficial tradition. Ramadan, Eid prayers, 5 daily prayers. These are good, but that's not the depth of the religion. Take just one phrase from the story of Ibrahim. So see what you will show to Allah. That simple phrase, but imagine the depth of its meaning. That in every moment, your child is asking himself, what will I show Allah of myself in this moment? How do you instill that? And what was the child's response? "Oh my Father, do as you are commanded." That's powerful. He didn't say slaughter me. He didn't say no. He didn't say why. He said, do what you are commanded. Like, why are you even asking me? This is from Allah. Just do it. Where did he learn that? From his mother, the one who ran after Ibrahim in the desert. To whom are you leaving us? He didn't reply. She repeated it. Finally she asked, did Allah command you to do this? He said yes. She said, then he will not abandon us. Done. It's easy to say that while sitting in your furnished home, car keys on the table, bank account full. But she said it in a barren desert, with a baby in her arms, watching her husband walk away, not even answering. And yet, she submitted. That's the woman who raised a child who would say, "Oh my Father, do as you are commanded." So sisters, don't think this is just about the men. You have a role too. Who raised Imam al-Shafi? Who raised Ahmad ibn Hanbal? Some of their fathers died early. Their mothers raised them. So if you were divorced, or tested with a husband who doesn't care, who is emotionally absent, raise your children. Be patient. Nurture them. And some homes today, 5-year-olds with clear signs of distress, yet a whole year passes and the parents don't notice. Why? Because they're not paying attention. Because the child is crying silently and no one is tuned in. I am truly amazed, and I don't want to sound harsh, but honestly, may Allah give patience to the mother and father involved in that case. But the idea that a child, 5 or 6 years old, was struggling for a whole year, without the household noticing anything in his eyes, his body language, his sadness, his silence. That situation demands serious reflection. I'm not talking about that specific case. I'm talking about our own homes. It's entirely possible that something similar is happening in our homes right now, and we have no idea. How would we know? Let's not even talk about drugs. The widespread drug epidemic among youth today is terrifying. Your son could suddenly become addicted. You see him. He's healthy, athletic, wakes up at 7 a.m., studies, then one day you smell something. It happens like that. You could have caught it early, with just a little awareness, but you weren't paying attention. Why? Because we're not available for our kids, and the excuses we hear. I'm at work all day. I'm in the kitchen all day. All right. So when you stand before Allah, and He asks you, Why did your son become an addict? Why did he fall into zina? You're going to say, I was at work? Does that sound like a valid excuse to Allah? Is that acceptable even to you? Even if you were truly busy, you might say, I did everything right and he still went astray. Yes, that's possible. Even Nuh alayhi salam, do we doubt for a second that he did everything he could with his son? Not at all. Still, his son died as a disbeliever. That was the decree of Allah. But notice the two axes I've been focusing on. Save your children, save yourself, so that when you are questioned, you can say, O Allah, I did my part. Nuh won't be blamed on the day of judgment. He won't be told, you failed your son. No, he did what he could. And you, do the same. Even before the hereafter, if you discover a trial has afflicted your child, and you know deep down you did your duty, the pain will be lighter. You won't fall asleep every night thinking, I failed. I didn't sit with my kids. I didn't talk to them. I didn't guide them. But if that's true, if you were negligent, that regret will crush you. We need to raise our children on the priorities of religion. Where is religion in your child's life? When your son is in an exam and he misses 2 prayers, how do you respond? Raise your son so that even if he's in the middle of an exam, he will leave to pray. That's not a joke. We used to do this ourselves. In college, we would leave lectures to pray in congregation. No hesitation. Now, of course, people have different levels of commitment. The minimum is that your child is committed to praying on time. If he reaches a higher level, he'll make sure to catch the first congregation in the mosque. Don't be the father who holds his son back from that. Your son comes and says, I want to catch the first prayer in the masjid. You respond, just stay in class and pray later. Don't do that. Let him go. Encourage him. Raise him on this priority. Now look at the advice of Luqman. O my son, do not associate partners with Allah. Indeed, associating others with him is a great injustice. Then Allah follows that with verses on honoring parents. Then comes another verse. O my son, indeed if a deed were the weight of a mustard seed, and it were within a rock, or in the heavens, or in the earth, Allah would bring it forth. Indeed, Allah is subtle and all-aware. O my son, establish the prayer, enjoin what is right, forbid what is wrong, and be patient over what befalls you. Indeed, that is of the matters requiring determination. Where is this upbringing today? Enjoin what is right, forbid what is wrong. Be patient with what comes your way. O religious folks, when your son tries to speak up against evil, do you say to him, mind your business, you'll get hurt? But Allah says, enjoin right, forbid wrong. Be patient. We've raised generations now that are at ease with sin. They're used to it. How? He saw everything and never heard anyone, neither father nor mother, say a word. And when he finally tried to speak, we told him to be quiet. Why are you upset now? What did you expect would happen next? He'll end up doing the wrong because you didn't build within him the internal repulsion to sin. You didn't equip him with immunity. In fact, you used to take him by the hand to the very beaches and places where sin thrives. You paid for it. You drove him there. So what do you expect from him when he grows up? The strange part is that many fathers who do this think they are being good dads. I'm a great father. I take my kids out every week. We go to the movies, to the mall. No, you're not a good father. You're a father who has built their dunya, but destroyed their deen. You've normalized immorality for them. And you think, I've done my part. I even take them to the mall. What does it mean to be a good father? What's the state of your son's religion? His prayer, his Qur'an, his remembrance of Allah? Let me tell you, one of the most powerful ways to protect your children is daily adhkar, the supplications of morning and evening, the supplications before sleep. Your son doesn't say them? You say, Well, I don't say them either. Start today. With him, with your daughter. Sit together and open a book of adhkar. And since the responsibility now falls on the father, go download it on your phone. What excuse will you give to Allah? Wallahi, I'll tell you a story that happened to me. I was traveling, I forget where. Maybe Hungary, maybe Germany. A Muslim Russian man saw me with a beard and approached me. He didn't speak English. I didn't speak Russian. But he came with love. Eventually, someone came who could translate. What did he want to show me? He rolled up his sleeves to show the scars on his arms. His hands had been slashed. Why? Because they found a small booklet of adhkar with him, and he was imprisoned and tortured. Today, you have everything. Books of adhkar are available, downloadable. So what excuse do you have? Those prescribed adhkar will protect your child. When your child leaves the house for school in the morning, do you have him say adhkar of the morning? This is part of creating an Islamic environment. Some schools that care about religion will have the kids say the morning adhkar on the bus. My own children memorize their morning adhkar from riding the school bus. This is what it means to place your child in the right environment. When you choose a school for your child, don't just ask, will he get a good education? Will he learn good manners? Ask, will he grow in his religion? And to the schools, if you are a religious school, fear Allah in the quality of your education and in your morals. The problem today is that many religious schools are accused of being money-driven or providing substandard education. That damages the entire cause. So if you are a teacher, the school manager, or even an admin, you are at the front line. If you don't uphold the trust of your role, you may be blocking the path to Allah. We have to deal with reality, not ideals. In reality, many parents prioritize academics over religion. If you can provide both, I'll enroll my child with you. No problem. If you can't, then don't argue with me. Isn't that our current reality? Then let's deal with it. Don't say, the religious people will come anyway. We don't need to improve. No, that's not deen. You're on the front line. Do your part. What's the environment your child is being raised in? What does your home look like? What kind of school does he go to? What kind of friends are you introducing him to? Your child needs to be surrounded by the right influences, everywhere. And that responsibility begins with the father. The mother's role? She gives love, affection, care. She provides emotional support. Does that mean the father shouldn't give love? No, he should give love and affection too. And does the mother not guide and advise? Of course she does. But the primary responsibilities, spiritual leadership and emotional nurturing, are shared. But each has their primary lane. Don't throw your role on the woman, and she shouldn't throw her role on you. Only together can we raise a generation that will honor us in this world and the next. I say these words and ask Allah for forgiveness. Glory be to you, O Allah, and praise be to you. I bear witness there is no God but you. I seek your forgiveness and repent to you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.